All right, let's start. Welcome everybody to, let me see what I titled this. Starting a bus ministry from scratch and effective outreach. My name is Ray Munoz. I am the children's pastor here at Hope Center Church. I have been attending this church, I believe, since I was 16. Right, Mom? That's my mom right there. My mom's here. She's a bus driver extraordinaire. But I am so excited to have all of you here today because that means that you are hungry for souls and you're hungry for the lost. So we're going to go through this today. I am not the bus ministry captain, leader. I am a children's ministry, but I am passionate about souls. So let's start off. If you have your booklets, you do have a handout, so you can follow along with this. Take notes if you would like. There is a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily write down just because I'm scatterbrained and sometimes I just like to riff off of whatever I wrote down. So I gave a lot of bullet points and I will kind of elaborate on a lot of it. So you can just kind of blame my pastor or my bishop on that because this is kind of how we teach. But here on there, we have Matthew 28 and 19. It says, "Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost," and that is the name of Jesus. And I put this here because I believe that this is so important, that one of the last things that Jesus was telling people is you need to go out and go reach the lost. And if you're here today, you want to see the lost. You want to see souls won. How many here today, I'm going to kind of just take a couple little polls so I can get a feel of the room. How many here today are involved in children's ministry? Cool. How many here are involved in bus ministry? Okay. How many here do not have a bus ministry at your church? Okay, good. How many here are involved in outreach? Everybody's hand should be up. That's the answer. Okay. So, bus ministry, I really feel that bus ministry seems to be a dying art in some churches. And especially this time of age, there are so many apostolic churches, and I hate to say this, but there are so many apostolic churches that do not have bus ministries. And I'm not saying that they're not church plants and they're trying to start up and do things. That's a whole different story. But I'm talking about full-blown hundreds of saints in their churches and they don't have a bus ministry. It baffles my mind of how you don't have a bus ministry. But what used to be a pillar in thriving churches, and some see it as a tool of the past. Some see it as, I remember talking to one person and they were telling me, oh, well, bus ministries, that's a thing of the past. I'm like, oh, it's not. Bus ministry is still thriving today. And that's just simply not true. Bus ministry and outreach is still an effective tool, and it's still an effective tool as they were in the past. You know, we look at bus ministry and there are countless testimonies of great men and women of God that are direct results of bus ministry. We look at our church, and our church is a huge church with just tons of first generation people. I look out into our sanctuary and I see Sister Michelle Wimeth, and she is a testimony of bus ministry. Even in this room, myself, Brother Gilbert, my wife, Sister Rose, Castillo here, all evidence of bus ministry. You know, somebody took the time to pick us up and take us to church. And so it's real. It works. And I just, there's no reason for anybody to ever say bus ministry doesn't work, because I can tell you that's a lie. I'm here today because of somebody picking us up in a van or on a bus. You can have one. You can't have one without the other. And here we can see bus ministry and outreach, they go hand in hand. Okay? You can't have bus ministry if you don't have anybody to put on the bus. You're going to have outreach, and you're going to have people that don't have rides, and you don't have a bus or some sort of vehicle to bring them out to. It's really the peanut butter to the jelly. You got to have both of them. And here in Matthew 25:35 through 40, for it says, "For I was hungered, and you gave me meat, and I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink, and I was a stranger, and you took me in, and I was naked and you clothed me. And we can go on here with this whole scripture here. But at some point in time when you're reaching people, you got to be able to provide what they don't have. And a ride is that one thing. There's people that are saying, like, I would love to go to church. Oh, but I don't have a car. Well, what are you going to do? You're just going to leave them alone? You're just going to let them be there? You got to be able to jump on that response and say, oh, you need a ride? I got you. Oh, you need someone to talk to? I got you. Reaching to those that are lost, sometimes they just don't have transportation. And so we're thinking, how do we do this? How do we start a bus ministry? How do we do anything like this? Well, people expect you to just know how to just reach souls. Right. I remember, even as a teenager, I had came to God when I was younger, and I was going to church, and it was church. But the nuts and bolts, I had no clue on what to do. I had no clue on how to reach somebody. I didn't have a clue on how to do a Bible study. And everybody just kind of like, well, you've been coming since you were younger. You should just know how to do this. Now, I'm going to tell you, sometimes as an adult, I don't even know how to do half the things that everybody's doing. I'm like, man, I need to learn that. Or, hey, why don't you lead this? I don't even know what the first thing to do is. But, we just expect people to know how to reach souls. But sometimes I think, like, we're afraid to say, I wish somebody would just teach me. I wish somebody would show me how to knock on a door. Somebody would show me how to start a bus ministry. And here are some steps that we can use to start outreaching. First thing is prayer. It seems so like elementary, right? Prayer. Oh, you got to be prayerful. No, but really, you can go, I'm telling you, you can go and knock on a door without being prayerful, and you'll just get a flop every time. But if you're covering it in prayer, you're covering it in fasting. Fasting is huge. You got to get into a routine of fasting. Fasting's not just like, oh, pastor's calling us to do fasting at the beginning of the year. I guess this is my time to punch in my card and get my fasting this year. No, you got to make it in a routine, because when you're praying and you're talking to God and saying, God, show me what you want me to do. Lead me, God. You're going to start feeling that, oh, I got to get closer to God. I think I need to start fasting this month, or I got to fast this week, or I got to fast this day. I just feel it. That is going to start aligning you with what God is wanting you to do. And when you cover your area, when you're covering this outreach and you're covering bus ministry and children's ministry in prayer, God's going to start leading you. He's going to start talking to you. And more, you're going to notice you're going to start hearing his voice talk to you and leading you. Even at the grocery store when you're talking, God's going to prompt you and say, you need to talk to this person. Hey, why don't you start speaking to this person? So prayer is so vital. You have to cover all of this in prayer and fasting. You have to know your city. No, you got to know it. If you don't live in that city, then you got to start walking around, start going around in that city. I know some people may live, there are saints in our church that live 30 minutes away from the city of Redlands. But you have to know what areas are in your city, what do those areas look like. I've grown up in this city my whole life. I know every little nut and bolt of this city. I can tell you, oh, where's your hotel at? Oh, I can tell you, hey, maybe you shouldn't walk around at night over there, or I can tell, oh, you're all right. You'll be all right. You can leave your car unlocked there. You know what I mean? But there are certain areas in the city, I know how the flow of that neighborhood is, or I know the type of people that live there. You have to know the demographic of your city, and you have to have a plan of attack. Don't just think that I'm just going to go out and just start hitting every single door in the city. Well, that's fantastic. But all you did is just took a shotgun and hoped you just got everything in the way there. You have to have a plan of attack. Sometimes the outreaching has to be more like a sniper. You have to be more precise. You have to say, I'm going to go to this area and this area right here, and we're going to start here and just canvas this area. You need to have the tools. Now, you can go and knock on a door and just start talking to people about Jesus, but what are you going to do once you got them in a conversation? You have to have the tools. You have to have something like flyers. Maybe you need to have a flyer for your church. Maybe you say, oh man, I don't even have a flyer for my church. How am I going to give them information? Some people are visual learners. They need to touch things or they need to see things just to be able to connect them to it. Oh, well, if you have a flyer that has here and says, oh, well, this is the time of our service times. This is the time of this is where our children's ministry is. How many of you guys have a church card on you right now? I always carry 2 of these on me at all time. I actually just put them on my phone because if I put them in my wallet, they get thrashed. If I put them in my pocket, I'll forget it. I just keep them in the back of my phone. So a customer of ours was talking to us, and they were asking about our church, and I just bumped in my phone. She goes, "You carry them on your phone?" I was like, "Yeah, because if not, I'll forget it." So I always have them. I always have them in my car. But you always have to have some sort of connection that, hey, here's the information, just in case you forgot every single thing I told you, because that's me. Here's something that you can remember and you can look back on it. Always have something like a flyer. Another way to connect to people is surveys. There are many surveys out there that you can do. All Things Bible Study has one that you can purchase. It's like $2 or $1. You can download it and print out a survey. Surveys are a very, very, very casual way of engaging with somebody and saying, hey, do you have 2 minutes that I can take a quick survey with you, and it's going to cost you nothing? And somebody said, I like to go to laundromats because people are just sitting there, they got nothing else to do. And you go in a laundromat in the neighborhood that you're wanting to reach and say, hey, can I ask you a few questions? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? That's just a very nonchalant way of just connecting with somebody and not being invasive on it. You need to have an event destination. What are you trying to invite them to? Are you just inviting them to Jesus, or are you inviting them to your church? Well, if you're going to invite them to your church, what are you inviting them to? If it's a young person, are you inviting them to a youth function? If you're a kid, are you inviting them and their parents to your church for your children's program? If they're an adult, are you inviting them to the service? You need to have something. Hey, I want you to come with me. Which service would you like to do? I was talking to a man the other day, and I was telling him we have something every day of the week. He was telling me, yeah, my church only has one service on Sunday, and it's kind of early and it's kind of far away, but the rest of the week they don't have anything else. Well, that's fantastic. Guess what we have? We have church on Tuesday. We have church on Wednesday. We have Spanish on Thursday. We have something always going on for the youth on Friday. Saturday we have outreach or some sort of work day, and then Sunday we have 2 services on Sunday. They're like, 2 services? Like 2 services. So to them, they're like, wow, this church has a lot of stuff going on. But you have to have a destination and information. Now, we started this conversation off, who knows what time the service starts this week? Sunday morning. Off the top of your head. Go ahead. 10? 10:30. 1. There we go. Because he goes to church at 10 a.m. and it goes at 1. But we were just talking about this. If you walked in a little late, we were saying sometimes I forget what time our services are at, because I'm always at the church early. I like, what time is Sunday night service? 7? My wife says, no, that's Wednesday. Oh, because I'm here at like 4. I'm here at 3 o'clock, and it doesn't compute to me what time service is. Or I'll tell them, oh, it's at 5:30. Well, I just told them what time prayer starts, but hey, God bless them. They're going to be here for prayer, But like, you got to have the information. Another thing, especially for bus ministry, you got to know what time the bus picks up. If you're not the driver, you got to know what time the bus picks up. Sister Annette, what time does the bus pick up in your route? Which area? Just pick an area.
Okay.
9:15 for Highland? 9:15 for Highland. So I have to communicate that to whoever I'm talking to in Highland. Hey, the bus is going to be here at 9:15. Why? Because it's a further area. It takes at least 15 to 20 minutes for us to drive them in. Now, if they're going over with Brother Gilbert, and let's just say he's driving the van over to Redlands, the bus picks up at 9:30. Why? Because it's a shorter route.
I'm sorry, is that a central location or individual?
So these are, it's one location. I'll kind of give the nuts and bolts on bus ministry a little bit more further down this lesson. But for this particular one, it's one area. When we had multiple areas, it was different times for different areas. But you just have to, like, if you're working with that bus ministry or that route, or you're starting that route, you have to know which area, because one area in Highland might start at 9:15, the next one might be 9:20, and the other one might be 9:30. It just depends on what part of the route they're in. But you need to have that information. Whoa, what did I do here? I did something. There we go. Okay. You need to have that information ready to go. And sorry, my computer is acting awfully. It says, it's okay to be scared, and if you're afraid of door knocking, don't worry. I am too. Okay? We are all human, and God knows that we have human tendencies. Rejection is not something that we like. Allow your passions for the lost to take over your fears. It is amazing to hear today how many of those gentlemen up on the platform are introverts. I feel like we are all introverts at some, except for Brother Tyler Hodge. I think he's the only extrovert in the room, but the rest of us are like, I'd rather just sit here, not talk to you, be alone, and keep it to myself. That's just my nature. Okay, so knocking on doors is extremely uncomfortable for me. It doesn't matter how many years I've been doing it. It is uncomfortable for me to knock on a door because I'm waiting for some guy to be like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Oh," you know. But it's one of those things that, like, I'm passionate about people being one to God because I know what He can do. So I take all of my fears and I just swallow them and I go and knock on a door and I have my little script that I wrote out or I memorized and say, "Hi, my name's Ray. I'm from Hope Center Church. We're out here just inviting people out to church. We have a great children's ministry. Go through the whole 9 yards. We'd love to have you with us. I don't know if you have a church, but we'd love to have you with us." And sometimes it's a no, sometimes it's yes. But I push myself to go out of my comfort zone so I can talk to people. Like I said, I don't want to talk to people. I just want to be left alone. I just want to just be able to do it. But let your passion take over your fears. Door knocking is effective. It is so effective. Door knocking it's one of those things. It's been working for years, and it's going to continue to work because we're reaching out to it. Here's another tip. Be nice. I'm going to say it again. Be nice. Everybody say it with me. Be nice. Nobody wants to go to a church with people that are mean. So if you're going knocking on the door, "Hey, how's it going?" "Yeah." "Hey, come to my church." "I don't know. I guess it's all right." Nobody's going to want to go to it. You got to sell it. You got to say, "Hey, how's it going? What's your name?"
Isaac.
Isaac, nice to meet you, man. Hey, do you have a church?"
Actually, I don't.
"Oh, man, well, if you would we'd love to have you at our church. We have services, blah, 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 blah." But see that right now, I what? Shook his hand. If they don't open the door, that's fine. Just stand back, just stand back from the door, talk to them. And then you're engaging them. You're being nice to them because nobody wants to go to a church where there's a bunch of mean people. Listen to the person that you're talking to. Find something in that conversation. Find something around them that you can connect to. Okay? So I just recently met a man, and I'm totally messing this up. I do not remember his name off the top of my head, but I remember where he worked. So we were talking about something, and I just say, "Hey, my name's Ray from this," and he's like, "Oh, well, where's your church at?" I was like, "Oh, it's over here off of 4th Street, right around the corner, or right around the other side of the LA Fitness." He goes, "Oh, yeah, like there used to be a bakery over there." I was like, "Griswold's." There used to be a bakery right around the corner on the other side of the freeway. I said, "Griswold's?" He goes, Yeah. I used to work at Griswold's." I was like, "Really?" You know what I did? Perfect opportunity. My grandfather used to work at Griswold's. He worked there for many years. I said, "I even think my mom worked there." I said, "I don't think she worked there very long. I think she got fired." But so but he got a good joke out of it. He started laughing. We connected on the simple place of where he used to work. There's another person, we're just, this one's a really funny story of this guy. I went and knocked on his door, and it was raining. It was like sprinkling. And I knocked on his door, and I was not paying attention. There's a big old sign on there that says "No soliciting." But I was like, "Oh, well, I'm here. I'll ask for forgiveness." And I was like, I stepped back, and he opened the door, and he goes, "Oh, hello." I was all tired. And so then I said, "Hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. I did not realize you had a big sign on your door that said 'No soliciting.'" And then as I'm saying this, a drop of water falls on my face. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you, but since I have you here," and he goes, "Are you crying?" And I said, No. I said, "Drop of water just fell on my face. And it's just a perfect opportunity. You just walked right in the middle of this." He goes, "Oh, man, I thought you were crying." I was like, No. But we started talking and just going on. He was telling me about how he worked night shift. I said, "Man, I used to work night shift. It's rough, isn't it?" And he goes, Yeah. We started connecting. I invited him to church, and he didn't want to go. But I said, "Hey, you know what, Dion, if you don't mind, do you think I just come by and just tell you hi?" "Yeah, man, come by anytime. I'm here. I work, so if I'm awake, I'll answer the door." But I connected with him on a few different things. One, something funny happened. We had a joke to talk about. The second thing is he worked night shift. Oh, I used to work night shifts for years. Oh, it was the worst. I used to go in at this time. This time. I found a point to connect to somebody. They have kids. Oh, I have 2 kids too. Or, oh, hey, I noticed a bike outside here. Do you ride your bike? You might be like, yeah, I ride it to work. Well, oh man, I used to ride my bike to work. Things like that. You connect with somebody on a personal level. This way, you have something to banter off of. But here, and I may have missed something. So if I'm skipping around, I'm so sorry. Leah, I did miss something. But listen to them. Kids, jobs, the color of their shirt, the shoe brand, whatever it is. I've met with this guy and I was talking to him about shoes because, hey, I like shoes. And so we started talking about shoes. The worst thing that somebody can say to you when you're knocking on a door is no. What do? You dust off your feet, you move on. Okay? Don't be rude to them. Don't say, oh, you sure? And keep fighting them. Are you sure you're going to miss this? Just tell them, hey, it's not a problem. You have a great day. And you know what? You'd be amazed on how many people like that response. And they kind of let their guard down. They'd be like, man, maybe I should have listened to what he was saying. Because we all know those people right next door to us over there, they just keep, man, they don't let you go. Hey, I like it when they come to the door because then we're like, yeah, let's debate. But they're just pushy. Oh, no. I'm like, hey, I said no, thank you. I'm trying to be nice. Now I got to be a little bit more stern. No, just be nice to them. Just say, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry to bother you. You have a great day. Hopefully, I'll see you around. And that's it. You just move on. You go to the next door. Repeat their name, Isaac. I'll say, hey, Isaac, I'll just throw it in the conversation. You know why I'm repeating their name? So I remember it. Because I have a goldfish memory, and I'll forget everything. I'll remember faces, but I'll forget names. But Isaac, I'll just repeating their names so I remember it. Bring your family with you. Don't go out alone. Bring the kids with you. It is so much more, it is so easy to reach people when you have kids with you. They are willing to let their guard down. They see one guy, Brother Kayla, they see you just going out their door. Hey, how's it going? It's like, whoa, I don't want to open the door. Especially if it's a lady. She's like, I see this guy outside my door. I don't know who he is. I ain't opening the door. But they see 2 kids with you. And if you don't have kids, find somebody with you to go with you on outreach that has kids. Hey, it's like you're trying to cheat on your taxes. Hey, can I borrow your kid? Bring them with you. You guys got a baby. This is perfect. That's gold right there. You're just carrying that baby. They're like, oh, they don't even care what you're saying. They just see a baby. But you have an opportunity to let that guard down because those little ones are just going to do all that work for you. They're going to just break down any barrier that person had, and they're going to see your kids. Now, if your kids are acting up, then maybe just leave them off on the side for a little bit till they behave. But, bring them with you. That's going to help you. Bring your families. Families reaching together is what you want. You can't do this alone. Make this a part of your family. Make this what we do. We're going to go knock doors as a family. We're going to reach the lost. Remember Noah's Ark. They went in pairs. Try to outreach in pairs. The best thing you can do is outreach in pairs. It is less threatening than one person because then they think that you're just trying to sell them internet or something like that. If you go in pairs, 2 guys is fine. 2 ladies is fine. But especially in areas that are a little rougher, you want to make sure. There are certain areas that we used to go to that I would not let my wife go on her own. I told her, you just need to go with me or go with somebody else. It's just not safe for you to go. Because when my wife would go on her own, they would catcall, they would do all this stuff. When she went with me, they wouldn't say a word. So there's just some areas that are just not safe for you to go by yourself. And it's easier for them to just kind of let their guard down and do it. But become a friendly face in that neighborhood. Even if they said no and you happen to see that person that said no, hey, so-and-so, how's it going? Oh man, good to see you. And then just keep walking. You know what? You're a friendly face in that neighborhood. I remember one neighborhood that we would go into, and we had a bus route for, I want to say 4 years, 5 years, something along that lines. And it was a rough neighborhood. I'm talking about shootings every weekend, all this other stuff. It was bad. And I remember I would go out there, not following my things, but I would go out and visit all my route. I wasn't necessarily doing door to every single door that day, but I would go and visit my route. And I would go and walk around the street, and this is a rough neighborhood. And these 2 guys were over here hanging out in front of the yard, I can kind of hear them talking. Hey, look at that guy. And they're kind of like, who's this guy over here? Who does he think he is? And then one of the dads come out and he goes, hey, he's from the church. Leave him alone. And I was like, okay, I got my pass. But why? Because I had gone out there so much and knocked on doors, and I picked up that guy's kids. And he's like, no, we know who he is. I could walk in that neighborhood and be that person that everybody knows who they are. You know, that's the church. That's the one person from the church. They might not know my name, but they go, oh, that's the guy from the church. You become a friendly face. The next thing that you need to do is follow up. So this goes back to our plan of attack. If you have a neighborhood that you're doing, you got to go back. Don't just knock that door once. In order to become a friendly face, in order to become a name, you got to keep going back. Keep going back to the same doors. Now, do I knock we have one route that we're working on right now, and I don't necessarily knock every single door out every week, but I'll do sections. So I'll do one side of the street, the next week I'll do the other side. So I'm just constantly rotating these two sides of the street, so I'm not bombarding them. Hey, it was me from last week, remember? You want to come to church? You know, but maybe I'll give them a week and be like, hey, I came back a couple weeks ago. You remember me? Yeah. Just wanted to see if you wanted to join us for church. I'm becoming a friendly face by following up with them. Ask the people that you're talking to, ask them if they would like to go to church with you. You'd be amazed how many times people knock on doors, give them the whole spiel, and they say, okay, have a great day. If someone would just simply say, hey, did you want to go to church with us? They might say no, but they also might say yes. But if you ask them and you direct the question and put it on them, do you want to come to church with me this Sunday? Notice how I said that. Do you want to come to church with me this Sunday? And you know how many times people have said yes? And then once they say yes, what do you do now? You got to get a number from them. You got to get a number. And on our cards, right here, it just has a general number for the church. But I don't have any of them. But our outreach cards have the Brother Gilbert's number on them. The old ones that we used to have when I had a bus route is the other ones had my number on them. So I say, here's a card right here. If they didn't want to give me their number, here's a card. On this card, my number's on there. If you want to come, you just give me a call. Text me. Call me. Doesn't matter. Just give me a hold of me. If you don't want to give your personal number out, you can get a Google number. You can get a WhatsApp number. You can get any sort of fake number or something like that that's going to direct it to your phone so you can keep in touch with them. But get a number or give a number, because you have no idea how many times I've gotten calls from somebody handing out my flyer and say, hey, is this Brother Ray? Yeah, it's this. Who's this? Oh, this is so-and-so. I want to come to church. Perfect. Because my number was on there. That was a way of pushing them and saying, hey, I'm putting the ball in your court. Do you want to come to church with me? So get that number. And then, going back to the story of Dion, I just would stop by and said hi. There's another lady named Sister Doris. She was roughly in her 60s then. She's in her 70s now. A lady, I went and knocked on her door, old elder lady, and I said, I just invited her. She goes, well, I have a church. I was like, oh, that's great. What church do you go to? Oh, I go to the one down the street over here. Oh, man, that's great. How long have you been going there? She told me the whole story about how she's been going there. And I told her, Sister Doris, I already started calling her sister. Sister Doris, would you mind if I just came by here and just told you hi? Oh, yeah, I love it. For whatever reason, we got, at least 6 elderly people on that bus route that we ran. Just, I don't know, older people just cling to me. I guess it's just my mannerism or something. But I just said, do you mind if I just come by and say hi to you? You know why I did that? Because she's elderly. All her kids are grown up. Maybe nobody visited her. Maybe grandkids came on the weekends, if that. So I just went by and kept talking to her. Hey, how you doing? Just came by to say hi. I talked to her for a little bit. I remember one day I gave her my number and I said, if you ever want to come to church, you just give me a call. Gave her my number, gave her the card. I remember getting a phone call. It was in the afternoon. I can't remember what day it was. And she said, Brother Ray. I said, yes, ma'am. This is Sister Doris. Yes, I see that. How are you doing? I'm all right, but I need you to pray for my sister. She's in the hospital. Remember, Doris had a church, but she called me to ask her to pray for her sister. Of course, Sister Doris, I'll start praying right now. We start praying on the phone. She's already had the Holy Ghost, so she starts speaking in tongues on the phone. sooner or later, I've already built a relationship with Doris. Guess where Doris is coming out on Sunday nights because her church doesn't have Sunday night service. She comes down to our church. She comes on the bus. This is how we were building a relationship. I just went over just to say hi to her. I just wanted to see how she's doing. You have to have a genuine care for the people that you're talking to. If not, they're just going to know. They're going to know that it's phony, that it's fake, and nobody, you're just there just to get a number from them. You have to show them that you care. You have to invest yourself into their lives. Now, we're going to go dive into the bus ministry portion. Now, let me give you a little history on my experience with bus ministry. Pre-COVID, we had a bus route in the city of Highland, which is about 20 miles or 20 minutes away from here, roughly. Brother Caleb has a church over there towards that area. And we ran one shuttle bus over there, and I think at the most we had somewhere over 25 kids or 25 people on the bus, including kids and elderly people that we would bus in every week. I was the captain, my mother was the driver, and we would go out there and every week. That was our route. We would take care of that route. We would go out, visit that route, groom it, make sure everybody's coming, contact people, all this stuff. And once COVID hit, demolished that bus route. Elderly people didn't want to come to church because they were worried about getting sick. Understandable. We would keep in contact with them. Kids didn't want to come because the parents wouldn't let them. We keep in contact with them. We keep calling them every week, even though they weren't coming to church. And then pretty soon they stop answering our phone calls. Then we go over to the house, nobody's home. Then we start going over the house, find out they moved. Demolished our bus route. Thriving bus route, both bus routes, I would say even. Both bus routes, we were busing in somewhere around over 50 people every Sunday, including a van, probably even getting more. Demolished once COVID hit. Just what happened. We've been trying to build our bus routes back up, and we've had some success in some weeks, and then I think this last Sunday we had 2 riders. Just ebbs and flows of bus ministry. So I'm not going to stand here and act like we have a thriving bus ministry. We're working on it. It's not where it needs to be, but we're praying, we're reaching. It's not to say that we're not putting in that labor, because I'm telling you this because there are going to be moments where you're not going to have a single rider on that bus. So, there are ebbs and flows in bus ministry. Now, how do I start a bus ministry? This is like probably the biggest question that I think most people who don't have bus ministries ask. Well, if you weren't paying attention, the last portion of this handout was telling you how to start a bus ministry. You just got to go and start knocking doors. You got to start reaching people. You got to start going into a particular neighborhood and starting in that neighborhood and just keep knocking doors. And if you're getting that done in 30 minutes, guess what? Move over to the next street. Start knocking on those ones. So you have people that want to go to church with you. Great. Guess what? You have officially started a bus ministry. It doesn't matter whether you have a 20-passenger bus, a 30-passenger bus, a 15-passenger van, or your car. If you are bringing somebody with you to church, you are starting a bus ministry. It doesn't matter if it's 1 or if it's 50. Okay? That is your bus ministry. We have started bus ministry with just picking people up in our cars. And then eventually my car just gets so packed that we got to get a van. Once you get that van packed out, now you got to get a bus. You're just constantly just filling up that whatever vehicle it is. So if you have people that want to go to church with you, you have started a bus ministry. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's how easy it is. You just go and reach people that want to come with you. I can't fit them in my car anymore. Great. Let's go to the next step. Let's start working on a van. Let's talk to pastor. Say, Pastor, I'm packed out of my car. I got 4 other people going with me to go drive and pick up people. We need something bigger. That's gold to a pastor. He's like, yes, let's work on getting a van. So we have too many fish for our nets. What do I do? Right? We need to talk to our pastor. We need to find out what works for your church. Now, I think only one person's from out of state, right? Or no, right? Yeah, from out of state. Anybody else from out of state? Okay, good. California is, bus ministry in California is tough. If you have anything bigger than a 25-passenger shuttle bus, they regulate how many miles you're driving, they regulate everything. It's just the nature of the beast. We've actually tried to move away from our buses and try to use passenger vans. Why? Because anybody can drive them. I don't necessarily have to have someone that has a Class B license now. I can have someone that has just your typical license that you drive your car in and go and pick up people. I don't now. The regulations are a little bit different. So it is, you have to find out what works for your church, and that's alignment with what your pastor is going to allow for it. But you need to look into buses, vans, or multiple drivers. You need a license. If you need a specific license, then guess what? You got to go take that test and get that Class B. So you can do that with I believe, Sister Annette, it's a passenger endorsement here in California. So you need your Class B plus a passenger endorsement. Okay, so a little bit of an extensive test. You have to get physicals every year. There's a lot that goes into just getting a license to drive a bus. But you look into that. Look into insurance. If you're the one that's going to be in charge of that, you need to know what kind of insurance your church has for that. You need to find training on that, on training on how to drive. We were blessed at the time when we were starting our bus ministry. We had a gentleman that worked for Caltrans that also drove trucks for many years. So he was the one training everybody on bus ministry at that time to drive our buses. And he was the one who had all the connections with the DMV. He would talk and yap the instructor's ear off. They weren't even paying attention to how our drivers were driving, but we had them just taking, it was just, a blessing. So, we got to look into training. Now that you have them, you have to keep them. Bus ministry is discipleship. You have to be consistent. If you don't have anybody that's not on your bus that week, you're going to say, oh, I shouldn't go next week. No, you got to take that bus, that van through that neighborhood every Sunday. I don't care if there's only one person or no people on the bus. Every Sunday we would jump on our bus, and we would drive it through everything, honk at all the stops. I don't care if anybody didn't go that Sunday or the previous Sunday. We're going through. Because you know why? Because now I can go on Saturdays and say, hey, we have a bus that comes through here every Sunday. I'm not lying now. I have a bus that comes. Have you seen my bus? Oh, it's a big white bus. It has the big kids on it. One of the faces are like this. Yeah, that's us. Oh, yeah, I know the bus. It comes through in here, honks every morning, wakes me up. Yeah, that's us. We're just trying to wake you up. But, you got to be consistent with it. You got to make the bus ride or the drive fun. They're kids. If they're kids on your bus, you got to make this engaging. You got to make this fun. You got to make this a time that they're going to remember. Not just leave it to the children's ministry or the church's job. You have to make this engaging. Don't just sit there and just go. Just awkwardly looking at no music going on. It's not an Uber. Who's ever taken an Uber? It's the most awkward thing ever. I think on one Uber, I sat in the front seat because I didn't want to sit in the back. He's like, okay, but it's so awkward because you're just both sitting there. There's no music going on. I don't want to be on my phone and be rude. And they picked me up from the church, so I was like, man, I gotta talk to them. Make it engaging. That is a 10-minute drive that you have time to connect with them. There's a gentleman or a young man that he used to ride our bus, left the church, started coming back lately. And every time I go and pick him up for church, we're talking, hey, so John, have you thought about baptism? I know you got the Holy Ghost, man. How was that? What did that feel like? And he starts telling me all this stuff. And we're engaging because I have 15 minutes with him that I can connect and get on a level and understand what he's going through. So help grow the people on your routes. Be involved in their lives. Know everything about them. Know about their birthdays. Know about what's going on in their household. There are certain times that they're going to involve levels that are just real low, casual involvement. Hey, how's it going? How's your mom doing? Oh, she's doing great. But then there's going to take some other levels that are going to be a little bit deeper. You're going to get that call at 11 o'clock at night. I need you to come down to the house. My kids are acting up and I don't know what to do. You're going to have to go down there and help them pray. You got to understand that there's levels of involvement with bus ministry. I remember getting a phone call one day, and my wife and I were getting ready to go to dinner on a date or something like that. And she gets a text message from one of our parents that rode the bus. And she said, can you talk to me? And so my wife calls her and she goes, hey, what's going on? And the mom's just crying. And she says, my son's birthday's today, and I just feel like a horrible mother. I don't have anything to give him. I don't have anything to even throw him a party. And she's just telling us, she's just opening up to my wife because she's already gotten that relationship. And she says, I just don't know what to do. I just feel like I'm failing my kids. And my wife she said, you just give me 2 seconds. I'll call you right back. She puts the phone down. She goes, this is before we were actually dating. We were married. I think we were dating at this time. And she said, so-and-so called me and gives me the whole story. She goes, She just looks at me. I said, we'll go take care of that. Instead of going out on dinner, let's go do it. How bad do we want this, right? We went, picked up some $5 pizzas, picked up a cake. We went and had a birthday party outside in the front yard. I'm not saying that because it's anything to do with us. We're nobodies. But we said, are we going to be used? Because these are our kids. These kids come on our bus. These kids come on our route. We're going to do whatever it takes to get this family in our church, to get them loving our church. Because I guarantee you those kids have never forgot about that day that my Sunday school teachers went down, and they went down and had a birthday party in my front yard. And it was nothing. It was just cake and pizza. It probably cost us under $20. But it was a memory that they had. And we all sat out in that front yard, people doing drug deals up and down the street, all this stuff going on. But we sat in that front yard and we had a birthday party. Because we said that we are going to make this part of we're going to make the church their lives. And so be involved in people on your bus ministry. There are tools that you can use to help your bus ministry. One thing is Remind App, and I gave a very, very detailed explanation here on what Remind App is, because I feel like this is a really good tool. This is a great way of staying in contact with everybody from your route so that you're not having to do a group message where everybody's getting the text message. There's another way that you're not also, you don't have to give out your personal number to. You can just give out the Remind App number. Hey, why don't you do this and you subscribe to this app, or you subscribe to it. So I'm going to send you a text message. You're going to get a text message. You've been assigned, and we used to put the Highland route. You've been assigned to the Highland route. Push yes to accept, no to declined. And now you're added to this text messaging thread. Now I can start texting everybody in the morning. Hey, good morning, everybody. We're excited for church today. Just to let you know, the bus is leaving the church. Boom, sends out text messages. Everybody gets a text message. Not in a group, individual messages. Now we're almost getting off the freeway. Hey, everybody, the bus is getting off the freeway. We'll be there in about 5 minutes. Boom, sends out. All the parents know. Get ready, get dressed. Here we go. Now we're here, and then we're doing it, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're running late. I can text all the parents. Hey, parents, just to let you know, church went a little longer. We're running late. Or, hey, parents, just to let you know, we're running through and getting Slurpees today. Boom, send out a text message. This is a great way to keep up. There's another way, Google Apps, Google Numbers, all those others. You can give ETA, special events. I always let them know, hey, just to let you know, we're only having one service this Sunday. Boom, send out a text message. This way, and then your writers can subscribe at any time that they want to, and they can also reply back to you individually and not to the group. So that way you don't have to get people mad at you about blowing up their phones. And the great thing is Remind App is free to a certain level. If you want to do extra features, you can subscribe on that. Permission slips. If you are having somebody ride with you, I highly, highly recommend you get a permission slip. There is nothing worse than having to get a phone call and say, where is my kid? Who took my kid? And that's left on the church answering machine that nobody's going to check until Monday. So permission slips. You want to get permission slips from parents. Can anybody help me out? What time am I supposed to be done? I'm sorry. 1? Okay. So permission slips are vital. You want to get that permission from a parent. You're either going to get verbal permission, but the best is written, because a parent, you just don't know. Somebody could say, oh, yeah, you told me that I could take them. No, I never told you that, even though they did. So you want to get verbal. You want to get written permission if you can. Another thing to think about is cameras on your bus, cameras in your car. You never know. If you're a guy, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a wise thing for you to just pick up a young girl or girls. You always want to have groups with you, or if you're married, have your wife with you, or find a lady in the church that can help out with that. You don't want to put yourself in a place where something could be said about you or anything, but you really don't want to ever be alone with anybody. You want to try and pick them up in pairs or groups, just to protect yourself. Our buses, we always have a captain on our bus. So these two young ladies right here are captains, and they do great jobs of connecting with the kids, but that allows the driver just to be able to drive and not have to worry about, drivers can connect to people, but that way they're not having to look back and they can focus on the road. But the bus captains are checking and everybody, looking at everybody, keeping attendance and records of how many people are in here. And plus they're able to talk to people. And let's see, Bluetooth speakers. Another thing, if your bus or van doesn't have a radio, ours had a DVD screen and none of it worked. But hey, God bless those buses that they brought people to church. So what did I do? I went, jumped on Amazon, looked up Bluetooth speaker, found a $20, $15 speaker, and bought that, put it on the bus, and now we're listening to church music that they sing in church, music that we do in kids' church. So that way, and then these kids, put on this song, and they would want this particular song because they heard it in service and they loved it. I think at that time it was like, this dates us, but it was like, what was it, Breakthrough or something like that? The kids loved it. They're like, put on Breakthrough, Brother Ray, and then we put on Breakthrough. Another thing to think about is crosswalk signs. You never know what can happen, so you always want to make sure. But people like to blow past your van or bus. And then bus captains, as we said, is just so much nicer. And attendance keepers, just keeping track of who's coming, who's not coming. And we'll get into this a little bit further down on this growth section. One of the growth things, ways to grow your bus route, is a Faithful Riders program. So what we used to do is we used to keep track of who came to church, and we would have this. I think we actually got this from First Church in San Jose. They used to do this, but we would keep track and say, okay, this quarter or this month, however long you want to do it for, we say, if you came to church every single Sunday for this quarter, we're going to take everybody out to go get pizza at the end of the month on a day that's not a Sunday, and we'll go do it. And you would keep track of it, and you wouldn't believe. I said, the only way that you're allowed to miss church is if you're sick and you have to call me and tell me that you're sick, or you have to have your parents call me and tell me that you're sick. I would get calls, Brother Ray, little Susie right here, she's sick. She just wants me to call you. She doesn't want to miss her Sunday. She doesn't want to get dinged off of her Faithful Riders. I would get parents calling me or coming out. I just want to let you know they're sick today. They're sick. And it's because that's how important it was to get. Yes, it's just a pizza party, but we would do different things. There was right down over a couple cities over, there's a vintage arcade place, and it's like $5 a kid. We would just go every Sunday. Hey, we're going to go down to the arcade, and you're going to have an hour to play unlimited games. And they all just made sure they were there every Sunday. And we would go and we'd take them out on, I believe it was like a Thursday night. We'd take the bus out, go pick up everybody on the route, and we'd drive all the way out to that vintage arcade. And they had a time, I'm telling you, just playing video games. This is the best night ever. Getting them excited about being faithful. And sooner or later, they just build habits, and they just keep coming to church every Sunday. They didn't miss it, not because we're having something, but just because they love it. Another thing, if you were in Brother Bradshaw's session, I asked him a question about next level kids. We implemented this at the time we were doing this, and we had about a group of 4 to 5 kids that wanted to be part of it. So what this was is the same thing. We'd bring them to church on Sunday night, but we didn't do it on the level that they do it. We didn't have suits and stuff like that, but we would bring these kids every Sunday night. They would sit in the front row with me, right in the front row, and we would have church. And they would come, and we'd go grab dinner before we have church, and then we'd go have church, and then we'd take them straight home after that. Parents knew, hey, kids are going to be home a little late, but they were there every Sunday night. And you start seeing development move into their prizes, putting prizes on your bus. Hey, we're going to do a raffle today. Brother Gilbert is notorious for doing this. They do raffles on their buses and say hot chips, hot Cheetos, whatever, Takis, and the kids are like, yeah! And he'd get the family size one, and they'd be so excited about it. Themes. I know some bus routes do themes on there. It's like, we're going to decorate the bus, the inside of the bus or the van, to look like it's under the sea, and they're going to have all these things hanging off from it. Or there's a church in Colorado, I believe, the Cass Church, and they had their bus driver wears it like a different hat every Sunday. That's his thing. Well, I wonder what hat Brother So-and-so is going to wear this week. I bet you he's going to have something crazy. He had squid hats, hot dog hats, cupcake hats. He just changed it I can only imagine he probably has 365 hats in his closet, but he would wear a different hat every Sunday because it was something like a theme that they would make. Surprises are big. If you can do a surprise on your bus, I wonder what the surprise is going to be this month. Last month, Brother Gilbert took us to all go get Slurpees. Or when we would do our route, we would drive, and there was a Smart and Final right down the street, and we would stop at the Smart and Final before we go home, and we'd buy a big old case of popsicles and hand out popsicles in the summer because the AC was really shoddy on the bus. And so everybody would be eating popsicles, and we'd be sweating it out, But and then another thing is that when you have adults on the bus, I had one guy, Max. He was a parent that rode on our bus, and we would go, and he'd be like, "No, no, no, no! I want to buy it this week," because he was getting engaged. Now that guy, he lives in Victorville or something like that, somewhere along the lines. He still comes down here, but I think he's going to Brother Smith's church now. But another person from our bus route, we just kept investing into him. He would get mad at me sometimes because I'd be like, "Hey, bro, you can't cuss on the bus. Take it easy." And he'd get off, and I'm driving my car to church. He had a car, but he wanted to come to church on the bus. And I remember he followed the bus. He followed it right the whole way there, and then he gets out, and I'm getting out, and I just told him, "Hey, I'm sorry, you can't be doing that." And when we got to church, he said, "Hey, I just want to apologize to you. I'm sorry, I just shouldn't have acted like that." Investment, right? Guest writers. I know during our kids revival, we have our bishop and Sister Wilmoth ride the bus, usually during kids revival, because they're without time. But having a guest writer with you, and they just, Sister Wilmoth is riding the bus with us today. That's so big to them. Or, oh man, you guys got the drummer to drive the bus with us today. And they did, guest writers. Be creative with this. But the last thing I want to leave you with is bus ministry, children's ministry, youth ministry, outreach ministry. They all work together. Who's ever seen a silo? I remember driving through Oklahoma and stuff like that, and I would see the silos on the side of the road. Silos are individual containers. They're built to not share with anything around them. A silo in the church is somebody who keeps information just to themselves and keeps things just for themselves. We don't want to be silos. If you're saying, well, I don't want to connect with the outreach ministry on this because I don't want to let them steal that glory there. I don't want them to take that win from me. That's a silo. Or I don't want to share all this. I'm not going to let the children's ministry talk to my kid or to correct him in kids' church. Well, that's my kid. Who do they think they are? That's a silo. You're allowing just that little that information, that child that's on your bus to just be contained by you. You have to be in connection. There are times we get kids that are teenagers that come into kids' church because their younger brothers are with them. Guess what I got to go do? I got to walk out of the room, go talk to the youth leaders. Hey, guys, I got a teenager in here. Would you mind connecting with them? A silo would say, well, you deal with it. You bring them in here. No, well, they say, oh, yeah, let me go over there. They go over there, they can connect with that teenager, and then they walk them into service, and they get them connected with that. That's what somebody who's not trying to be a silo does, is they allow it to share the information and share with different ministries. Your bus ministry should have a presence in your neighborhood, and when you go pick it up, when you drive that bus in, they should know that that's the church that my kid goes to. That's the church that I want my kids to go to, because they're always here. They're always faithful.